What a wonderful.
Hi guys, and welcome back to Real. Today we are on the big comfy couch, the literal definition of a big comfy couch. Today we are here with one of my best friends from the internet, also probably one of your favorite people on the planet, Bran Flakes, and Black Truffle, aka Lindsay, who are both from the Between Us Girlies podcast. I know you guys know about it, so they need no introduction, but thank you guys for sitting on the couch with me today in your own apartment.
Of course. We're so happy you're here.
I'm so honored to be here. I'm so honored to have this as my home right now. This literal,
Yeah, you slept on this last night.
This literal vicinity of this couch. I'm obsessed. It's so nice in Philly because you just get such freaking space.
Yep.
Like, I'm so jealous.
Come
that
move
this
here.
I know. Well, you know what? It's nice for me to visit. It's the way that you like New York.
Yeah.
Is the way that I like Philly.
Yeah. Just coming and visiting.
So I want you guys, for anyone who doesn't know, to explain how you both know each other and like what that story is.
Okay, so Brandon and I are neighbors from home. So we grew up in a town outside of Philly, and we met when like this group of like douchey guys in our neighborhood pushed me off of a scooter in front of Brandon's house. He came running out of the house. He was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "No." And he was like, "Do you like Bratz dolls?" And I was like, "Yeah." And Brandon comes like running down his driveway with like this huge ass tub of Bratz like accessories and dolls, and I was like, "Oh, we're going to be best friends."
Yeah. That right then and there, that's how I would know that's my person.
No, like it was a full-blown moment, and like we're actually staring at a Bratz doll right now. Like we keep a Bratz in our house. Should we grab her for the viewers to see?
We need
Bring
her.
Kylie into it.
Wait, what did you have a fave Bratz doll? Because like
I loved Chloe and
I
Yasmin.
loved Chloe. Oh my god.
This is the Kylie Jenner.
If
Bratz
for the guys
doll.
that are on the video version,
the viewers.
this is iconic.
Hostway got
Is
it for
this the
me for
Kylie-
Christmas.
Is this a Kylie Jenner? This
Yeah.
is literally Kylie Jenner.
She's beautiful.
She looks iconic.
She's gorgeous. Yeah.
From your perspective, what was it like?
Yeah, no, I had just moved to the neighborhood and I saw Lindsay get pushed off a scooter. And of course, I wanted like new friends. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is my in. And we played Bratz all the time. And we had every class together in elementary school. Like we were always in the same class. And then in middle school, I feel like we got separated because we were on. Our middle schools did like teams. He was like, we were always on a different
We
team.
had. Oh my god, I forgot about that team.
Isn't
one.
that like a memory unlocked?
We had teams.
And then we like, but we were still friendly because we were neighbors. So we were on the same bus. We would always like communicate, still like hang outside in the neighborhood together. And then we got really close again in high school because Lindsay used to copy off me.
Cheater. These tests aren't going to take themselves.
Yeah, honestly, I'd be copying off you too. I like get it.
People don't know that I'm smart.
No, I know
Brandon
you're
is
smart.
So, like 4.0.
You would be. No, you
Like,
would be.
He was my favorite person to cheat off of.
Everyone had that one person that they would like text, like to.
I
cheat
never
off of.
minded when Lindsay asked. She was like, "Can I have the homework?" I'm like, "Sure." With
You're like,
other people, I
"Fine."
would be like, "You're annoying." But Lindsay, I never cared about.
You're like, okay, fine, you can do it. It's fine. Did you guys have a friend group, or was it like, what was the dynamic like growing up, like into high school and that like?
Middle school was weird because everybody's like friends, quote. So like, yeah, we were friends in middle school. And then high school, you kind of branch out and you like start talking to different people. And our friend groups were very different, but we were always the same. So like we always stuck together.
Okay. When you were growing up, this is like going into like kind of getting older too, but when you were growing up, when it came to talking about boys and talking about dating before Bran came out, what was that like?
Did you know?
Did you? Yeah, I want to know like, what?
We've never talked about.
Wait,
this,
I'm actually
Sorry to put you on the spot. I just, like when you're growing up and like, obviously you were playing with Barbie since the jump, like, but I mean, that's not to say that like some people can not be gay and just really like Barbies, but everyone.
Brandon like radiated like we can talk about this kind of energy. Like my dad has this weird memory of Brandon that I still crack up at, where he would come to my door, like he would ring my doorbell as a child and he would go, "Watch me, I'm a star," and would like throw his hand up in the air and would just stand at my front door, like didn't care about my parents seeing. Like he has always been like an artist when it comes to like it was a production. And so like he
it's
always
so accurate.
No, like he always had this like yes energy.
Yes.
I don't know. I feel like we never talked about like guys being hot or like any of my boyfriends, like where you'd be like, oh, like he's ugly or hot, but
until junior year.
Yeah, but
Yeah. Like once Lindsay and I got really close in high school, junior year was when I like started telling like mostly everyone. Like my parents, my close friends. And then I was having a field day with Lindsay because Lindsay's boy crazy. And she was always talking to like really attractive guys. Like she dated like some hotties. She was dating like popular guys, like guys that like I was so curious about. I was like, oh my gosh, like tell me what they look like under their clothes. Like I had so many questions.
So sorry, that's no, like I just need, it's so interesting, like what, from your perspective, what it was like. And when you came out, from your perspective, like what happened and how did that happen?
I don't even remember telling you. Okay.
I remember we were sitting in our library, like we had this gorgeous library and there was this big bay window that we would all sit in. And Brandon at one point was like, yeah, like I'm gay. And I was like, you are? Wowzers. I'm like, duh, you're gay.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
Is it offensive, or like do people take offense to it when they say like, oh, I knew you were gay before you came out? Is that offensive?
I don't think it's like offensive. I just think it's like kind of an unnecessary thing, unless like just now I was like, wait, did you know? Like I'm a curious person, so I'm like, what were your thoughts?
Yeah.
Like, did you actually want to know? But like, I think if you're telling somebody, I think there's like a comforting where you can be like, oh babe, I knew. Like I was just waiting for you to tell me. Like that's cute. But if you're like, I knew it. Like that's like not supportive. Like I think when someone first tells you, your first initial instinct shouldn't be to be like, I knew it already. It should be like, oh, thank you for telling me. Like I think it's okay to kind of like coddle a little bit and be like, I had a feeling, but like I wanted you to wait until you were ready. Like that's, I think that's a better way to go around it.
Okay. No, I always just was curious about that. I don't know. Okay, so you're in high school. What was like your dating life like? I want you to take us through that because apparently you're dating some hotties. So now I need to know.
It was so weird. Like in middle school, I had this pair of glasses that never fit over my face, and I'd literally scrunch my face up like I was a pug. And when I got to high school, I was like, your pug days are over. Like you need to. I looked in the mirror one day and I was like, wow, like you're actually not beat. Like care about yourself. So I get to ninth.
You're kind of good.
Yeah, like you're kind of like okay. So I get to ninth grade and I'm like, I'm gonna be like that girl. And there was this guy he went to our high school, but he moved like to Italy. His family is like super Italian. He moved to Italy, came back and had to redo his like year. So he was in our grade. He was like a ninth grader again. And I like was in the Black Student Union in high school because I was obsessed with a man who was in the Black Student Union. I hope he's having an excellent day.
Oh my God.
And one of the guys in BSU said to me, do you know Italy boy? And I was like, no, who's that? And he's like, Italy boy and Italy boy's friend, Germany boy, because he is like blonde and obsessed with his culture and heritage. So we'll call them Italy and Germany. They were best friends.
Okay.
Germany was a year older than us. Italy was in my grade, but they were both still like in the same grade technically. Okay. So I was like, no, I don't know these boys, but Germany did go to my elementary school. I know that because I have an older brother in his grade and like I recognize that name. And he's like, oh, well, Italy's really into you. And I was like, all right, well, I just got hot. Like, I'm bored.
I just got hot.
He's hot now because he's Italian. Like, give it to me. So I was like, okay, I'll do it. So I started like hanging out with him. We were having fun. I like meshed our friend groups together. And then I realized that I liked beer more than pasta. I was like, we're going to Germany. We're going on an excursion through Europe.
Period.
So
the way that took me like 2 seconds.
No, me too.
I was like, damn.
See, this is why she needs to be on the podcast. It's commentary like that gets me.
So after I like started to like drink beer and eat pretzels, I was like, I've got to find a way to get out of Sicily.
And say Guten Morgen.
Yes, Guten Morgen. Like I just wanted to be like a Germany girl. So it took me through twists and turns. A lot of people hated me. A lot of people thought it was iconic.
Why do people hate you?
Because I caused a stir in the friend group. It was messy. It was kind of where toxicity began in my life.
Okay.
But I was a child. Like these are childhood memories. This was a decade and a half ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was sick. And I dated him most of my high school career until we broke up. And then I dated someone who he hated because he hated them.
Period. But you didn't actually like them?
Well, I didn't go into it like, I always thought he was really cute, and I didn't go into it like, oh, I like him. But once I got to know him, I was like, oh, you're the nicest person alive.
Okay.
And you're hot.
So we ended up not being bad.
Yeah, it was an excellent time.
The intentions were for revenge in the beginning.
It was really sick of me.
Bran, what was it like for you, like when your friends were dating, and what was going on inside your mind in high school, in your love life, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't have a love life because there wasn't like too many gay people that were out in high school, and the ones that were, we were not going to hook up. And I didn't have like any dating apps at that time. Like it was like 2013 during this era. So like I like loved living vicariously through like my friends like Lindsay and like hearing about their boy struggles. And like also I feel like a lot of my first like comfortable interactions as a gay man with a straight man were through like my friends' boyfriends. Like I would get comfortable. Like I was literally scared of straight guys. Like I was like, oh, every straight guy's gonna think that I want to have sex with them, because that was like such a toxic like stereotype back then. Oh, you're gay, are you into me? And I was so nervous about that. So like some of my first positive interactions as someone comfortable in my skin finally talking to a straight man were like my friends' boyfriends.
So the friends' boyfriends, did you feel like included in the... Like, did you feel included in
Certain
it?
friends, yeah. Like certain friends, I became like very close with their boyfriends. Not Lindsay's boyfriends, because Lindsay's boyfriend got a bad haircut one day.
No.
And he heard me scream at her. Like we were at the lunch table next to us, and I was like, oh my God, Lindsay, he looks like a penis.
Stop
And
it.
He hated me for like literally 2 years because of that. Now we're all
freaking
friends.
out.
Yeah, now we're friends.
Okay, so now you're fine.
You might meet him tonight.
Really?
He's an OG. We love him.
I'm gonna
so
tell
much.
him I don't like
He's
his
a
hair.
he's such a girly. He's
Really? Okay.
Like he's one of us. He's a girly.
Okay, I love that. Then we can vibe with him and hang with him. So going into college, how did you guys like maintain friendship and stuff?
So that was interesting because Lindsay went to Penn State and I went to school like right around here. But we would like always connect on like breaks and stuff because we were both home in the suburbs. But we got really, really like disgustingly close like after we graduated college because Lindsay and I both moved home, and a lot of our friends like moved to the city. And my friends from college, who we now do the podcast with, Casey and Bailey, they moved in together in the city. And I was like, Lindsay, you have to come meet my friends Casey and Bailey. Like, we're not stuck in the suburbs on the weekends. We can go to their house, sleep at their house,
100%.
like drink there, hook up with people, like because we were under our parents' roof.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, like when we were like in college, I would see you, Brandon, doing like the most obscene things with your friends. Like the way that people looked, I don't even know if you know this, but back in the day, like I don't know, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, like we were reckless. Like people before Brandon had a platform, before we had Between Us Girlies, like people would literally see us and be like, you guys are crazy. That was elevated in college in a way that like I was never a part of, unfortunately, but like I would watch it. And when I came home from college, I was like, Brandon, stop. I would like to join. I volunteer as tribute. Like, let's do this.
You're like, let's get into some things.
And like it was really fun, like having Casey and Bailey live in Philly, because we literally did spend I would get in the car, we would pack bags, we would get in the car, I would drive down here, and we would stay here, and like that was what was up.
No, that's so fun. It's nice having like a core group. And I feel like you always end up making friends through other friends. Like that's how it always
100%.
happens. When you guys did go off to college and when you started making your own friends, obviously not including Casey and Bailey, but were there ever times where you met one of each other's friends and you saw that kind of there was like a red flag or something that you were like, you're not going to be friends with this person?
Speak on it.
Should we talk about Italy?
Okay,
I'm like, tell
so
it.
I never visited Penn State to this day. I've never been to Penn State's campus, which is like honestly betrayal of like the state of Pennsylvania, but it's
True,
fine. Never
that's
been.
so off-brand for
Lindsay
you.
would meet my friend. She would come in the summer. So junior and senior year, I moved to an off-campus house. So Lindsay would come and visit me, and we would all go out with my friends. And I don't know if you had any like strong opinions about anybody, but I didn't really get to meet any of Lindsay's college friends until I decided to do my master's program, and I was living at home, but then I did one semester in Italy, and Lindsay visited me and brought a friend that I thought was a little bit of a red flag. I don't know how deep you want to go into that.
Yeah, I'm just curious in what ways, but obviously whatever you feel comfortable.
How much?
So this girl I was friends with, she lived with a few of my other friends in college, and she was very heavily invested in traveling to the point where it became her career. And so I was like, oh, my bestie is doing his master's program in Milan. Would you be interested in like just like full blown booking a trip and going? And she's like, oh my God, hell yeah. So we like prepare for this trip. It's expensive, it's time consuming, but she has it down. Like she plans our itinerary. I'm so excited. And We get there, everything's fine. And Brandon says his one like red flag that he noticed is that she didn't have a international converter for the wall. Like, you're a travel agent and you go to multiple countries on the regular and you don't have like a way to plug in your phone. Like, Brandon always said to me that was weird, but in my brain I was like,
remember that.
I
Wait,
do.
What do you mean? Like, she didn't, like, when you, like.
So when you go to Europe, you need to have a special plug because they have different wall outlets.
The plug converter.
So Lindsay's been telling me the whole time that I'm abroad. She's like, I can't wait for you to meet
So-and-so.
so-and-so. She's a travel person. She's been all over the world. So we all get to dinner. We all go to dinner when they get there. And the girl's like, Brandon, like, where can I buy a converter? And I'm like, wait, you didn't bring one? Like, that's like the first, this is my first time in Europe. I'm like, that's the first thing you bring to pack. Like, you always get
That
a
is true.
converter,
I feel
or you
like-
buy one at the airport. Like,
Yeah.
exactly. Like, it's such
I would
like,
have gotten one from Amazon beforehand. but I
so
always
like
do.
you're literally, we're sitting in front of the Duomo in Milan and you don't have one. I just thought that was like nothing crazy to be like, Lindsay, don't be friends with her. But I was like, that was strike one for me. I was like, kind of weird that
That's
she's
so
like
interesting.
a
I would've-
travel agent and for a career and she didn't even bring a converter. Like,
Yeah, I guess maybe you're
why wouldn't you have like 7 laying around? You've been to like every country.
right.
It was
That is
just
true.
bizarre.
No, you're right.
So I you know me, I like pick up on like weird like things like that.
I usually don't.
Like I get like, but I'm a point system. I don't verbalize things until like literally 3 strikes. So then just regular behavior starts to happen. I don't know where it was, where I was like, Lindsay, like, how much do you know about this girl? Like, she's kind of a little weird. She was just giving me some vibes. And then a situation happened, which I don't think we should go into too many details unless you want to. But I told Lindsay, be careful of that girl. Like, if I were you, like, I would not go and hang out with her at the bar that the girl was at while we were in Italy. And she was like doing her own thing. And I was like, Lindsay was like, I have to go back. Like, I can't leave her. And I was like, I wouldn't.
I felt like it was my Cancer energy, like picking up on this. So like, she had dealt with some things in college where her medication was something that wasn't supposed to be mixed with alcohol, and that always affected her very negatively. And it's completely okay to take medication. Like, I'm all for it. But like, if you do have side effects to your medication, it's really important to prioritize your health. I get slip ups, but like, this was a slip up that was just kind of unacceptable. And we went to this bar with Brandon, his friends. We had a really nice time, and she was hanging out with this girl, and they looked like really like cozy. And I was like, oh, like, this is your experimental era, slay. Like, I thought she was with this girl. Like, I genuinely thought they were going to hook up. So I was like, oh, like, I'm going to leave. She's a travel agent. I didn't mind leaving her. She's been around.
Yeah.
I go back to Brandon's apartment, and he is blacked out. Sorry, babes, but you were. He was blacked out, and I'm FaceTiming this man on the phone, and my phone is like almost dead because I've been talking to this guy for like an hour. Then it occurred to me, I'm like, where the hell is my friend? So Brandon takes one look at me in a blackout state. He looks at me and he goes, Lindsay, don't go find her. It was the best. She's a little bit crazy. And then he goes to sleep. And I managed to get out of him.
That was literally the most on point brand impression I've ever heard.
No, it was crazy.
A little bit crazy.
And he had one sweatshirt with a hood. This is kind of an important part, but he had one sweatshirt with a hood, and I'm a black girl with hair, and it was raining. So I was like, you got to give me the hoodie, babes. I need it. I trekked through Milan, not knowing where anything was. I don't speak a lick of Italian. I end up at this bar where her location was sitting. Long story short, there were multiple creepy guys around. I had to figure out some things with the police. I ended up at the U.S. Embassy. My mother, it was one day maybe I'll tell the full story, but it was so ludicrous and so insane that I told myself that I would never ever travel like that ever again.
Meanwhile, it's like with the travel agent of all people.
Yes.
And that got you in the most shit.
Yeah. And she apologized. Like, we're cordial, and like, I saw her recently at like a mutual friend's like party. Like, but I just don't want to like be in a situation where I travel with her again.
Yeah.
Ever.
Or go out with her.
Yeah.
Or drink with her.
I think the drinking thing is a big. Anyways.
What was the question? If we had any bad vibes about each other's friends.
yes.
That was
And-
truly
and-
like, after that, I was like,
You're like,
Lindsay, like,
let's reel it in here.
yeah. Which, I mean, I just made TikToks about this. I always am that friend that like has the intuition, but things that are canon events, you have to let them play out. This was a
100%.
canon event.
That's a
The
canon
U.S.
event.
Embassy was a canon event.
No, literally being a POV, you end up at the U.S. Embassy like 2 days into your trip. Like, that's insane.
Crazy.
It was nuts.
Like, so from your side, has anything happened with Bran where you were like, oh, he has a new friend or a boy or like someone that...
She's very protective over me.
Because my best friend, Amanda and Erica, are like that as well. And like, they always are the first ones. Like, I'm blind to things. And I don't know. I feel like neither of you guys are really that much like that. But I get blind to things. So my friends will be like, this person is like not actually your friend.
Yeah. I feel like Bran's very anti like bullshit. So like if somebody is radiating red flag energy, he'll see it. And if it's seen and he still keeps them around, there's a purpose behind it. Not in like a I'm using you for something, but like it could be like
Keeping the friendship together, like avoiding drama.
Yeah.
like things like that. Yeah. So like I've never really noticed anybody in particular. There was this one man who like genuinely ruined his life for like 3 weeks. So that was a hard watch considering I'm the person in this house who has issues and I'd like to keep it that way.
There always has to be a switch off every once in a while.
Yeah.
She's being generous with 3 weeks too. It was more like 3 months.
Yeah, I was
But
going to
it
say 3
happens.
weeks sounds like not that much.
Yeah. But
It was a tough 3 weeks.
he was a glorified gym teacher.
Oh, God.
who
Oh, God.
had terrible energy, who was just playing him like every fiddle in the entire world. And it was a really hard watch.
Where did you meet this man?
Grinder.
That should have been
Yeah.
the first
red flag.
red flag.
But I think like since like becoming a content creator and like getting a following, Lindsay is like really good at like grounding me and being like, hey, like I don't like that person's vibe, or I feel like that person's like kind of like using you or being like a pick me. Fashion Week, there was a big influencer that I thought I was close with, and Lindsay was like, just so you know, I hate that girl, and the way that she treated you at that event was like not okay. And maybe one day we'll tell that full story,
Yeah.
but she's like opened my eyes to like, because sometimes I feel like, oh, like I make excuses for a lot of people. I'll be like,
get it.
they're busy, they're at an event, like they don't have time to say hi. And Lindsay was like, Brandon, no,
No.
like that girl just like fully blew you off.
And I feel like also girls will go out of their way to, this is a weird thing that I'm sure your friends deal with also, but like Philly is big, small. So Brandon is noticed on the street, at the bar.
100%.
People want to be friends with Brandon. It makes sense. He's a fun party influencer. Like, why wouldn't you? But sometimes people go about it in the weirdest ways where I'm like, I don't trust those people. Like, they
Yeah.
just want something for you. It's like, I just have like a sixth sense now where I'm like, I don't think that person has like your best interest. They're like self-centered in something that they want.
It is weird how my friends have the same thing, like as they've been around me more. And I do want to ask you about this also. I feel like you just pick up on what someone's intentions are. And so for you, going back to in the beginning and just like as you've gone along on like his journey of like becoming an influencer and getting bigger, what are some things you've noticed at like events? Have you ever had, I mean, obviously you just talked about that one experience, but what has it been like for you kind of on the outside being able to, because I always say, I always pay very close attention to how people treat my plus ones or my friends that they might not know from social media. It's just like a person that has a corporate job and whatever. So how has it been like for you? Like sometimes being the plus one and showing up, and have you ever had weird experiences?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've done a lot of really cool things. Like, it could be as small as a restaurant opening, which is still a big deal, but we also just came back from Puerto Rico, and I was taken as a plus one where, like, Frontier, like, sent us there, which was really cool.
Yeah.
So it's like, there's a plethora of events, but I feel like the events where they're smaller and more Philly condensed are the events where I get irritated the most, because it
Interesting.
is a field day for competition. And I am a person, and this is me speaking candidly, I'm not an influencer yet. So I don't really care what I say. You don't compare where you don't compete. So when I see these like smaller people act like they are on Brandon's level of like success, and like, I'm not saying that you can't think big picture and like you can't put yourself on a pedestal. You should be your biggest advocate, but that doesn't give you an excuse to be rude to somebody.
Asshole, yeah.
It's like, you're not on that level. Like, who do you think you are, kind of? In comparison to Puerto Rico, when I went with huge influencers and really credible, confident, like cool people. Like one girl was on The Bachelor and she now has like an amazing platform, or like she's beautiful and like smart and kind. And like another one just went to Alaska on this like amazing cruise, and I was so excited to see her content. It's like one of them is Dakota and Jackson from TikTok.
I fucking love them.
And those people, like I felt so safe and like they were so kind. And it's something that like I feel like with me, like what I've realized, the bigger you are, the more you kind of get it, I guess. And I feel like their plus ones get it too. And it kind of makes the community a little bit better. I feel like Philly influencer culture is like a little toxic.
I do get that sense with smaller creators too.
I think it's.
I hope that doesn't.
It happens. No, I
you're
think
telling it's what you're
your
trying to say.
experience, yeah.
And I understand it too, what you're trying to say.
I think it's all about insecurity, and I think a lot of times when you have you should treat people with kindness, whether you have 0 followers or 10 million. But sometimes people who have the 10 million followers feel very secure in their success because it's the proof is in the pudding.
Yeah.
So they actually nicer to people because they're not competitive. They know what they have going on. They believe in themselves. Whereas someone who sometimes might be smaller and insecure about that, which is, in my opinion, silly, because micro-influencers are honestly where the money's at, where the engagement's at. But sometimes they second guess themselves, and it comes out in ways where they act competitive or they act weird. And it's the, what events are you going to energy, and how much money did you get for that brand deal? Or, oh, is this meal being sponsored for you? Did they send you an Uber code? And it's like, that is... like I kind of just want to go to an event and like talk as if we're people. Like, it is good to talk about work. Like I love to network and be like, oh, how's everything going with the agency you just signed with? Do you like them? I'm thinking about switching. Like I saw you worked with this brand. That's such a cool opportunity. Like, and then some people are like, oh, here's their contact. They would totally work with you. But then when you're like, hey, I saw you just went to Italy last month. Who did you work with? I want to get a comped hotel. Can you tell me what did you get for free? Because I want to go. Also, like, did you get invited to that? Oh,
it's
right.
the tone of voice, too.
And I think Lindsay Josue, my boyfriend, has been like, Brandon, that person was just like trying to one up you. And I sometimes have a blind eye to it. I'm like, really? And I was like,
but it's probably the Philly people that are doing that.
Yes.
Because I have never, and I'm curious with you, but I have never experienced that with, it's always, and people that are the ones that go on TikTok after meeting influencers that are usually a smaller influencer trying to get followers. And they're like, I had a bad experience with this person because she said blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you're projecting. And I know it's fucked up to say. And if someone did have a bad experience with an influencer, that is valid because it can happen. You can have a bad experience with anyone. But I find that a lot of the time, these creators sometimes, or just people, they're looking for such a specific response from the influencer that if they don't get it, they project their insecurities onto them. And they're like, because they didn't say exactly what they wanted them to say. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
like,
100%.
And this is like a weird world. Like even I'm not even in it, and I feel like I'm in it. Like it is so weird for this to be a job. Like the fact that you guys do this full time is insane. It's everybody's dream. So like there is probably a lot of pressure, but like New York has a ton of girls who do certain things that are the same. Like you have your fashion girlies, you have your food girlies, you have your lifestyle girlies. Philly, you have Brandon and one other influencer who does like I'm outside content. One huge influencer in Philly who kind of is like, let me give you a tour of Philly. Like that's her entire thing. And then everyone else is food. Everyone else. So it's like you have these completely different like areas of work, and you, again, like you don't compete or you don't compare. And that sounds so rude to say, but it's like, that's not to like diminish the like time and energy and product that these other creators put into their work. Like they're amazing Philly influencers that I really respect and like love content wise and as people.
Yeah.
But some people just need to take a deep breath. Like you should be grateful that you're here.
Yeah, it's 100% true. And it is, again, a lot of the smaller people or the medium-sized people that I feel like are the ones that are arguing over stupid things or complaining about the silly things. Like if you're being taken on a brand trip, for example, just be grateful. Just be grateful. Let's not talk about it. Let's like just be happy that we're here. Be kind to everyone. And that's another thing I feel like even as like an influencer in New York, most of the people are very secure with themselves, at least the people that I surround myself with and we surround ourselves with in New York, very secure with themselves. But there are the ones that you find are like kind of trying to one up or a little bit snaky, like trying to get something.
Yeah.
What's your experience been with New York and
I've had mostly really positive interactions with honestly almost every influencer that I've met. Is there times where I feel like some people are like rude? Absolutely, of course. But what I always say, it's like we put influencers on this pedestal where it's almost like when we have discussions like this, it's like these behaviors are exclusive to influencers. Like this isn't true. Like when I worked a corporate job, we would have corporate parties. And the CEOs and managers were like the influencers with millions of followers. They were cliquey. They wouldn't address you. They're the same people when you get on a meeting, you're too scared to talk to because they're 10 levels higher than you and you're at the quote unquote bottom of the totem pole. This behavior exists everywhere. Influencers just live on the internet where people have these discussions and people think like, oh, you're an influencer. Like you're not necessarily famous, but you're recognizable. You probably make a decent living. And it's just like, oh, this influencer must be rude because they have all these followers. It's like, no, like some of the rudest influencers I've met have been in Philly who have literally like 50,000 followers. Some of the nicest influencers I've met have like millions.
Yeah.
But in New York, I just think everything like, I get like sad in New York sometimes because it reminds me of how fake the world is, and not fake people wise, just like how fake the industry is. Like I went to this event at Boot Barn a year and a half ago, and there was this like beautiful like presentation that they put on, and I for like just 5 seconds I was like, I don't want to record this. Everyone's phone was up just recording, and I was like, every influencer here is posting the exact same story.
Yeah.
Not one person at this event has talked to one, like has met someone new. Everyone here came, looked around, was just like, hi, yeah, filming my brand deal, taking content. Hey guys, we're at the Boot Barn event. Everything here is so gorgeous. I am so obsessed. Like, let me show you the new collection. I'm just like, why don't you have a cocktail and ask somebody who they're fucking? Like, let's just be people.
But you know what? I actually almost disagree with that a little.
Please do, yeah.
Because I think that there are certain events that are like like if I'm getting paid to go somewhere, I'm not there to have a drink or interact.
Totally.
I'm going to say hi to people. I'm going to talk to the brand, whatever. But at the end of the day, in my mind, this is my job. I have a job to do. I'm going, I'm taking my content. I'm focused on that because I'm getting paid to do this and it is my job. And so yes, in a way, it is kind of like a machine. We're all machines pumping out this content. We're getting paid to do it. And they're setting up this whole thing in this presentation. They're not setting it up so we can be so impressed by it. I mean, obviously that's a side effect of it. We're going to be like, oh, look at this new pair of shoes, whatever. They're setting it up because this is what they want our audiences to see. It's like they can't get our entire audience in a room together. So this is how they're portraying it to our audiences in a way that's achievable to them.
Yeah.
Like the way to get the attention of our audiences is through influencers. They respect us. They trust us.
100%. And I agree with that. I think my perspective is that when every influencer is creating the exact same content, I, as a viewer, don't want to watch that content.
I agree.
I would much, like, if you start your video off with, come with me to the Boot Barn pop-up shop in New York City, I'm scrolling. If you come out and you say, I had the craziest Thursday night of my life. First, I started off and got drinks at blah, blah, blah at this hotel lobby bar. Then I went to this event that I had to go for, not saying that. Then I went to this event at Boot Barn. So much fun. The collection was gorgeous. I met this person here, all this stuff.
You're right.
When I go to an event, I always say, guys, take 10 clips of me. Let's get the content out. And then I want to kill two birds with one stone because part of this job is networking and actually going up to the people who invited you, the PR people, the agency, the people who work for the brand,
100%.
talking to them, schmoozing, and then meeting other influencers and then talking to them. And that's how you get things set up. So I think in New York, I just realized like, wow, this is like really robotic. Like we're at the Rare Beauty event and we're about to meet Selena Gomez and like everyone is just like, it's weird to me. Whereas I feel like in Philly, because those crazy events don't happen, there is more of a sense of like, people stop and look around and they're grateful. And in New York, sometimes and this is the same in LA too. Like you just go to things, I think because it's so much more normal, it's such a more popular like influencer scene. Most influencers live in New York. It's always interesting to be like, wow, like this is an Amazon storefront dinner that I'm at, say next to Renee Rapp. And I hear the influencer next to me go, who is that? And I'm like,
excuse me, Renee Rapp is literally my icon and my queen.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, okay, this is crazy. If this was happening in Philly, everyone would be like,
Freaking
this
the
is
fuck
such
out.
a cool experience. And it's not to say that person wasn't grateful. I love the girl
People
who
are
said that, but I was just like,
desensitized.
oh wow, like you go to events like this all the time. Like this isn't impressive to you. And it's an interesting dichotomy, like of like how different the worlds can be.
Yeah, it is hard because even I feel this, and I'm not trying to sound like whatever, but this is called Real Podcast, so I'm going to be real about shit.
Right.
Like, I've realized that a lot of events, I'm exhausted, and oh my God, I'm so tired. This is going to come off terrible. But like a normal person, when you're going to like events every night, your social battery gets low and you're tired. And so you kind of have to learn to pick and choose the things that are really important to you. And I think a lot of the time I've learned to actually pick and choose things, not go to something and be half in, half out. I would rather go to something, put my all into it. Like when I go to something, I know I'm going to be at my 100%.
Yeah.
The problem is I think a lot of influencers, they spread themselves thin. They want to go to everything. And then you're desensitized. You're completely desensitized to every experience. And that's the scary part about being an influencer.
Agree. And I always say this too, especially because I do factor that in, because there's some events where I'm not chipper and I'm like, I don't really necessarily want to be here, but this is part of my job. You give people 2 tries, always. If someone's rude to you the first time, give them a pass. If they're rude to you the second time, then it's like, okay,
I don't even agree with that. You would never be rude to a stranger.
I wouldn't.
You would never be rude to a...
There's been times where I haven't been my best. When I'm drunk or wasted, and like I get really bad, like overwhelmed. Like I can come off rude if I'm feeling really overwhelmed. And like a place I would feel overwhelmed is at a really crowded bar when people are pushing me and other people are trying to stop me.
That's really hard.
But sometimes you don't notice. Like one time we were at the beach and this influencer was really excited to see Brandon and he was just drunk and like irritated, which I get. And I said to him, I was like, you were evil to that girl. Like you honestly should be shot. Like you were vicious to her.
I don't even remember this.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
and
I you know what? There was one time that apparently someone said I was rude to someone at Common Ground and I was blacked the fuck out. I'm like, even in my both blacked out state, I've never been rude to someone. I might have genuinely not heard them. But yes, I agree. Like if you're that drunk, there's got to be, you
There's
might
a
not
time
hear
and
something.
place.
You might not be able to hear. You're in these crowded, crazy bars. Like there, shit happens when you're that blocked out.
Well, when he saw her again, he was actually radiated so much kindness that I was like,
You're scared.
wow, Bran, like what the hell is this?
Like I'm trying to literally
it was an exceptional recovery. Your time too was great.
Yeah.
That's why I say everyone for me gets like 1 strike. I'm like, that might have been a bad night for them. They might not even remember. They might be dealing with something. Hopefully the next time I see them, they're in a better spirit. And if they're not, then I'm like, okay, they just might not be that nice.
Yeah, some people, and yeah, there are some people in this industry and out there that a lot of, and I also find like when I'm talking to someone, there's always like a commonality. Like we can always kind of be like, everyone has the same experiences with the same people. The common experience is the common experience.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yep.
There are certain influencers that it's just you hear time and time again, like this person. But that's it. Again, like you said, influencers, it's just they're on a pedestal. But this happens to regular people too. It's
It
just a
happens to
person being a nice
everybody.
person or a not nice person, or a friendly person, not friendly person. Person with social anxiety, a person that's really outgoing and has no social anxiety.
100%.
So going out now, I want to switch over to like just being feral and going out in Philly and stuff.
Yeah.
So first of all, like let's talk about your favorite spots and like where you guys go out and what the experiences are like.
Yeah. So it definitely changed. Like obviously as you get older, different bars become more appealing to you. Some become less appealing to you. We love Barstool Sansom Street. You love Barstool Sansom Street.
If I could dedicate my life to, fuck Barstool the company. Can I say that?
Yeah, sure.
Fuck Barstool the company.
I don't think their bars are like really. When people try to describe their bars to me, it doesn't sound like Barstool. Like, I don't want to say Barstool doesn't own them because I think they do, but like they're not. They're like a weird side business, almost like an extension.
Yeah, it's like not like, but whatever. Either way, Barstool's a great fun bar in Philly, and I thrive there.
Yeah, because we like bars that are set up like Barstool, where there's a lot of space and there's different areas were different. So like the basement of Barstool is my scene. Feral EDM music, dark lit, raging, fist pumping. The upstairs is like a regular sports bar. TVs like everywhere. Hot guys watching sports, easy to flirt. And then there's another part that's kind of a hybrid of both where you still have the TVs, but there's booths and a DJ where you can like kind of dance and talk. So it really can like fit the scene. And it's very, I would say most people who are there are like 24, 25 or up, whereas I think the college kids and the 22-year-olds go somewhere else. So I think it's age appropriate for us. We also really like this new bar called Vinyl, which is a live music place, and they do all kinds of live music. You could see a jazz band one night, or you could see a literal EDM DJ one night, and it's just like a really fun setup, and it's just been different for us. Is there anything I'm missing?
I really like the upstairs of Time. So there's this bar called Time. It's a restaurant on one side with like really like classy seating. They have a jazz band that comes every single night.
Cute.
Delicious espresso martinis. It's separated by a curtain and then another curtain. So when you come on the other side, it's like a little bar. They have a touch tunes in there so you can pick the music. Same amazing drinks. Booths. Very like I want to talk to you energy, but not enough to like go buy dinner. Then upstairs you have, in my opinion, the best mix of music. It's like strip club anthems mixed with like,
I love that.
no, like it is so good, mixed with like old throwbacks, mixed with, you know, you'll have like your few EDM bops in there. So it's a chance for like me to get my strip club anthem energy and Brandon to get his like Dom Dalla energy. So it's like a great mix of both, and it's very like loungy. So I bang with Time a lot. I think it's really fun.
Since you guys are seasoned, like going out professionals, I need to know what's like the craziest thing that's happened to you when going out, or is there a really crazy fight story that you've had where like you've gotten in an argument with someone, or like what's something wild that has happened that you're like, holy fuck, what just happened?
You want to go?
You go.
I actually just had one the other
Oh my
weekend.
God, tell, please.
I told this on the Between Us Girlies podcast a little bit. One of our co-hosts' ex-boyfriends found out some things that were said about him on the podcast. Nothing bad, just life experiences and like how their relationship shaped her as a person. His friend group didn't like that very much. I personally don't care about a bunch of cis white men not liking Between Us Girlies podcast.
Yeah.
2 black girls, a blonde and a gay.
Yeah.
It's not for you. But anyway, continue to listen. One of them came up to me. We were having a fine time. I don't particularly enjoy this group of boys, but I am polite and kind to them when I see them. They've never done anything to me personally. So I was enjoying my night. After like multiple drinks, they became what I like to call creatures. And one of them just decided to absolutely blow up on me to the point of me screaming so loudly in Barstool to everyone around me. I like on my own podcast had to apologize to those around me because I was screaming at the top of my lungs, full angry black girl. Like just, it was so aggressive and so bad. I said things to him that I wish I could take back because they were just so vulgar and so mean, but he was literally projecting onto me how he felt about my podcast, which was also pissing me off. Then this girl, this is something I didn't talk about on my own podcast. This girl who's in their group, I guess, she's hooking up with one of the guys in that group who I'm not a fan of. I've never been a fan of him. And for some reason, she just felt the need to insert herself. And it was getting to a point where my dad always told me it's not a good look for women to fight, but my fists were balled up like that Arthur meme, and I was about to hit the girl. Like it was getting to a point where I was like, she was like, is that girl talking about me? It's like, number one, no one's talking about you.
Yeah, why does she think this is about her?
This is about A and B, so you can see yourself out. I don't know what she was thinking, but I had to be removed by a friend because I was going to clock her. And then once I went outside, the fight followed into the street where I then looked ghetto in the street, screaming at this man. The bouncer of Barstool came over to me and said, if they need to leave, I will make sure that they leave. Lucky for him, they had already left. So it wasn't one of my finer moments, but it is what it is.
Honestly, it makes an iconic story.
We got in a drunk screaming fight once.
Yes.
It was really funny. Oh my God. This was like a few years ago, and I had gotten into a little bit of a tiff with Casey and Bailey, actually. I think I forget who it was. It might have been Casey. Casey and I like got into like a stupid argument. I don't even remember what it was about. And Lindsay was just becoming friends with Casey and Bailey, and it was kind of like, I was like, those are still my friends' territory. So Lindsay texted me one night. I had plans. I was already in the city. And Lindsay was like, hey, like, I know you and Casey are like kind of like beefing right now, but like, could I go out with Casey? And I was just like, I mean, I would really prefer if you didn't. Honestly, I was like, we're just like kind of like not in a good place right now. Like, if you could like not, that would be great. Lindsay did it anyway, which whatever. And then Lindsay ended up texting me and she's like, hey, like I actually like want to come where you're at. And she came and met me at the party that I was at, and I was intoxicated at this point and obviously had some feelings towards Lindsay because I was like, I asked you not to do something and you did it. And it was iconic because we went to the backyard of this house. Also, what's not lost on me is the house that we're at is the same guy's house who Lindsay is talking about in her fight. Wow, that was full circle.
No way.
That's just the most Philly thing ever. But it was one of those fights
dots are
where
all connected.
it could have been a reality show because Lindsay was like on her way like home, like she was gonna leave. So she's like downstairs in this guy's backyard, like where his door is, and I'm like standing on the stairs, like screaming at the top of them, like full Jersey Shore. I'm like, "What? You're fucking selfish!" And Lindsay's like, "You're selfish. You only care about yourself." Like we're just going at each other.
God.
And then it like we lived in the suburbs at this time, and we're like 40 minutes from our house at home. And I was like, damn, like even though I just dragged the fuck out of her, I should ask her if I can get in her Uber. So like I like literally
No.
run back down. I'm like, hey, Lynn. I'm like, could I like get in your Uber home? Like I think I should leave too.
That's ballsy.
And she said yes. She said yeah. But we were silent the entire ride, did not talk.
I was yelling at him. I was like, people are not property. They are my friends too. You don't get to tell me where I'm going to go. And then at the end, he's like, can I get an Uber? I'm like, well, I'm not going to leave your ass here. Like, let's go home. Like, I'm not. What am I going to leave him?
I know.
I don't hate him.
That's
but it was
that's
crazy.
the friendships that are so long that it's like a sisterhood. You
Yeah.
just
He's my brother.
yeah.
It's like I would do that with my brothers.
Exactly. Like you just no matter how angry you are at them, you just got them.
We cracked up like days after.
Looking back on it.
Like it was a really quick fight. He was like, I understand your perspective. I was like, I get yours too. He was like, all right, well, and then we just cracked up.
Is that the worst fight you've ever gotten in?
Oh no.
Okay, so what is the worst fight that you guys have ever gotten in over the years?
So going back to high school, Lindsay and I both wanted to be on homecoming court. It was like a dream of ours. So where Lindsay would copy, we would go to Starbucks. That's where Lindsay would copy my homework. And we made a deal with each other that we were both going to campaign for homecoming court. And if only one of us got on, we would be the other one's date. So if like Lindsay got on, Lindsay would take me to homecoming, because when you're like the homecoming court's person's date, you get to like ride in this car, you get to walk down like this aisle. It's like a really fun thing.
Yeah, it's cute.
So I cared about it more than Lindsay did. So Lindsay like wasn't like really campaigning that hard. I like made like a banner on Twitter, whatever. And I got nominated. So of course I was like, okay, Lindsay, like I'm going to ask you to homecoming, and like you had to do it in like a creative way where you like wrote it on something, all of that bullshit. So I asked Lindsay to homecoming and she says yes, of course. But then Lindsay, like we said, it was boy crazy. She was dating this guy at the time, and she's like, well, Brandon, like I can't like not go to homecoming with my boyfriend. And I was just like, I don't get it. Like we like already agreed on this. Like you're written down as like my date who you're going to like walk down with me during like when we get introduced. Like there's all of these things. Like it was just like really messy, and I was so upset. I was just like, I don't know who else I'm going to ask. Like I was so excited for this experience, and I feel like you're like ruining it for me.
Yeah, it wasn't one of my finer moments. I like with homecoming court, like we went to a high school at Upper Dublin. There's only going to be one person of color on homecoming court, and me and this girl, we just went head to head all of high school.
Oh my God,
we went
really?
head to head. So fucked. No, it was terrible. It was really terrible. And she was like very into it more than I was, to the point where her campaigning was wild, and she got nominated, and I was like, whatever, it's fine. And yeah, I was just like not a good friend. Like it's high school teaches you a lot of things about yourself, and one of the biggest lessons is that boys come and go.
Very
So
true.
this man came, and he definitely went, and I like talked to my mom about it, and I was like, I'm a really bad person, and then I had to apologize. Brandon like made me brownies. Like it was really mean of me. It was honestly very out of character. Like I always prided myself in being like a kind person. Whatever. Everyone fails. We all fall down.
Yeah, I was going to say everyone has a moment in their friendship where you do something that's either out of character or you're just like going through some shit. Like it's always like you're just going through something, and like, but the best part about when you have like a longtime friend like that is that you get through it. You understand. You're like, this wasn't your finest moment, babe. Like didn't like you at that point, but you just get through it and you power through it. Like, I think that's the showing of a true, real friendship. Yeah. You don't drop someone because times get tough. You're like, this wasn't good of you, and don't do it again, and we're going to move forward.
Yeah. And we moved forward. We had a few little tiffs after that, but nothing like Brandon and I don't really fight like that. If we fight, it's very sibling energy.
And I think that's very telling too. It's how you can kind of just fight in a minute and know how to just get over things. And life is short, so you can't hold grudges against people, hold things against people. We
also are like big cheerleader energy. Like Brand's my biggest cheerleader, I'm his. So it's like you don't like fall apart with people who like genuinely have your best interest. Like it's very hard to find those people who are like all around good. So it's like I wouldn't throw that away for anything. You know?
And that was actually going to be my next question, getting into like some sentimental shit, because I feel like this is a good way to kind of like end the conversation. What is like your favorite thing about each other as people, and then about as a friend? Like the way that they treat you as a friend, and then just who they are as a person.
As people, it's the easiest question to answer. We're both idiots. There is nobody. The only other people who get the sick and twisted jokes that Brandon and I tell would be my brothers. And like that's saying a lot because they're two straight, disgusting young men. So it's like having that at home, it's like literally being with your brother. But you don't have to curb yourself or filter yourself because that person's also your best friend. So it's like doing things together is so much fun because we're always aligned. Like the energy is never not there. It's like a joy.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely have like the same sense of humor, which is always like fun. Like we can speak our own language. Like even last night, I feel like you got a glimpse of it. Where like we literally said the word hard, and we were just like hard.
That's me and, my sister do that shit.
Start like making sex noises. Like we're just like gross. Like our friends will be around us and be like, "You guys are insane." Like shut up.
It's literally me and my sister. I swear.
So definitely like as friends, like our senses of humors are so like synced up. It's crazy. I would say as a person, I think Lindsay just has like a really big heart and very pure. Like she's a good person. And sometimes that's like rare to honestly find. Like you can have friends that like you have fun with, but like, you know, deep down, like they might be a party friend, or they might be a certain friend that like you can't actually rely on. Like Lindsay will like, if I'm like right now to Lindsay, I really need your help. Like you need to come do this for me. Like she'll do it. She might roll her eyes and be like, oh, all right. But she'll get the job done and she'll do it. So just having someone that like, she's a dependable, like I can always count on her.
Wow, kiss me. I would say the same for you, that you are very like, you're always in my corner and you always have my back. Like I think the best thing about having a friend is having support. Like if you can feel supported by at least one person in your life, like you're going to be okay. And it's like Brandon has supported me in the smallest things, whether it be like a job transition or like a guy who was an ass to me, or like as big as like, oh, I need you to pay our rent because I'm financially unstable. It's like he has supported me in every way possible. And like it's not something like that you can take lightly. Like it's just like the biggest deal. So, and he like enjoys doing it, which is crazy.
I get that. It's because you're very empathetic, and it makes you happy to make the people you love happy. And I think that's a huge thing. And I agree. I'm like, you have a big heart and you have the biggest heart as well. So I completely agree. Okay, to wrap it up, we're going to do some fun little rapid fire things. Okay. So first of all, for both of you, what are your favorite fashion trends right now, and a fashion trend you literally want to throw out the window in the trash?
I hate those boots. I hate those boots up the leg with the straps.
The Rocky
what?
Madden. She hates them.
You hate them?
I hate them.
It's such a specific style. It's a very specific style. That's valid. You're allowed to hate it.
And some girls look really cute in them. I hate them. I hate them so much. A trend that I really like, I would say, I really love like the Pilates onesies with the like bolero shrugs.
Yes.
Yes.
The shrugs.
I think they're so cute. You can wear them with sneakers, Uggs, 10 out of 10. Comfy.
Yeah.
This is like a double-edged answer. I love bows. I love that girls are putting bows in their hair. I love that there's bows and fashion details. But I also am just on the I hate all trends. Like, can we just like, if you're wearing a bow, you're wearing a bow. It's not your soft feminine era. You're wearing a bow. That does not mean you have to say, this is my soft feminine era. It doesn't have to be that big of a statement. There are girls who are dressed in all black and wearing bows. Remember when you would put the 2 bows in your hair, Tumblr? Like, that was not soft feminine. That was emo phase. Like, not everything needs to have a name and, like, be this, like, thing. So that's the trend I hate, is that, like, when we have cute things that are popular, that we have to immediately categorize them into an era or a core, or it's just too much.
It's so true. People are obsessed with the aesthetic, the core, the micro trends. Such little tiny things that they take and they make it into this whole
Clean girl.
the clean girl aesthetic, the
I
mom
can't.
boy aesthetic. I'm like, guys, we need to chill out. What is your favorite place that you've ever visited and a dream destination that you want to visit?
Oh, that's so tough. I think my favorite place that I've ever visited is probably Mykonos, just because, like,
love.
not only is it beautiful, tropical, and all of that, but it's feral as
Feral.
fuck. The men are gorgeous.
Yeah.
Like, I just have, like, some of, like, the best memories of my life there. I really want to go to Singapore and Australia. Those are, like, my number 1 and 2, like, places I want to travel to before I die.
Those are a part of the world that I, like, haven't been to yet.
too.
And so that's, like, the next part of the world that I really want to go
have not
to.
even entered close to that area, so I would love to.
Same.
Favorite vacation spot is Hawaii. I literally made it my entire aesthetic. Actually, it still is. I talk about it regularly. It's annoying, so I'm going to shut up now because Brandon hears it all the time, but XOXO Hawaii. Place I want to visit, I've always wanted to do an African safari, like up close and personal.
I want to do that too.
It sounds really cool. Also to see the Great Pyramids. I think that sounds unreal. And then to do like a nature extravaganza in Thailand, like a jungle.
That's so sick.
So cool.
And like just being in it, like actually like being in the trees, like in everything. I want that.
It sounds so dangerous, but so sick.
No, it sounds so sick. Okay, last one. What is something that you are really pushing for right now, or what's a goal that you have that, or just something you're excited for this year?
I would definitely say our podcast with our other 2 friends at Between Us Girlies pod. I'm really excited for the journey that we're already on with that podcast. So I think there's only good things to come in the future.
Definitely second that. I think, like, for me, like, this year, it's like last year I learned I can do everything on TikTok. I can do brand deals. I can make a killing off of that. I can live financially comfortably off that. So grateful for it. But it wasn't necessarily the most fulfilling for me in terms of, like, I just felt like it was affecting my mental health in ways that I didn't want it to, in terms of the comments you're reading, the volatility of the algorithm and the unpredictableness of everything, and just feeling like it's not reaching the audiences you want to reach. So for me, this year is about leveling up. It's about doing podcasts, you know, possibly going on TV again, but in like a healthier setting, because the TV show I did last year like ended up really not being good for my mental health in the long run. But just maybe I would love to get into hosting. It's something I've always wanted to do, like hosting a dating show or hosting like a fun TikTok show, like something like that. Like just being more, challenging myself to do something now that I'm like so comfortable behind the camera, going beyond just posting videos on TikTok, like doing a different platform or getting involved in different things. Obviously, I would love to go on more brand trips and meet more people too.
Same. I literally second that too. Also, wouldn't it be so funny if we co-hosted a dating show?
That would be so fun.
Like the banter back and forth of us being the co-hosts.
We would be, it's funny because we have such dating, like different dating like tastes too. Like
I know.
We were at Eli's event and
Yeah.
we were playing Slay.
Slay, nay, or may. Yeah.
Slay, nay, or may. And everything Carly was saying, nay to. I was like, gonna slay.
You're like, that's kind of hot.
I like would love to go on a first date at the Cheesecake Factory. And Carly's like, absolutely
yeah,
not.
I'm like, kill me now, literally. Don't ever. But that's what like makes it good. That's what makes the dynamic good. Thank you guys so much for coming on.
This
was so fun. Where can everyone find you guys? Plug the pod and plug your personals.
Okay, our podcast is at Between Us Girlies on TikTok and at Between Us Girlies pod on Instagram. My personal is Bran_Flakes with 2 Z's on TikTok, Bran_Flakes with 2 Z's on Instagram.
Podcast is already plugged, but Black Truffle on Instagram and TikTok. No C in black, just BLAK Truffle.
Thank you guys so much for coming on. Guys,
Thank you.
Be sure to follow. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already. Really like hit the subscribe button, please. Thank you. Give us a 5-star rating and review if you haven't. and follow us on Instagram at Real with CW and on TikTok at Real with Carly Weinstein. And we love you guys, and we will see you in the next episode.
Bye.
What a wonderful world.